What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, NIO, and many tickers out there. I'm going to break down some big news involving the US and China as we have President Trump potentially having a phone call with Xi Jinping very soon. That could be some big news as well. I'm also going to break down what's happening with the market for tomorrow as NIO has earnings. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as NIO is going, we had some nice deliveries numbers, but it wasn't really enough to get NIO to bounce hard. I was hoping we'd get a better bounce. We're only kind of flat right now. We are trying to push a bit in the after hours, we're up 1.14%. But just keep in mind that the next major catalyst for NIO is going to be this. So if you look at Tuesday, which is tomorrow before the market opens in the US, we have NIO announcing their earnings. And we're hoping they do relatively well, right? We're seeing lots of analysts giving them neutral ratings, saying that NIO is going to perform kind of equally with the market. The price price ratio is also down as NIO is underperforming, but we're hoping we get a bounce. Tuesday tends to be green about 55% of the time historically, and we have to see how well they do with their margins. The first thing you have to remember is that William Lee Bin and the NIO team is going to give us big announcements about their overall expectations for the year when it comes to deliveries. And then on top of that, we're going to be listening to see what happens to their margins. Margins are going to be very, very key for them. Do they beat on earnings and can we get some good margins to really see the share price improve? I believe that's going to be very key for what ends up happening, at least for the time being. So keep all of that in mind for their earnings that are coming out. Now, I do think that their revenue is going to be decent because if you look back in Q1, we had a decent amount of deliveries, but the real question is what will the EPS look like? We're going to be watching for that. And then what's the expectation for their deliveries for this overall quarter and also for the end of the year? Because if they give us lots of hope about their expansion plans, and then if William Lee Bin starts talking about profitability, the last time he did speak about how we're getting closer to it, and when people least expected this is going to be blowing up, that could be very, very helpful as well. So we're going to be watching to see if this 3.5 area holds. If it does, we're looking for 3.65 and 3.78 as our targets. Hopefully, we get a nice bounce after earnings. We are at a big support right here around 3.5. I am optimistic, so let's see if we get that bounce. And if we do, it's going to be very, very good. Now, some more news that's coming out involving China. President Trump has been talking about how he wants to delay some of the tariffs on a lot of different things, especially for China. Certain GPUs now have delayed tariffs, which is another good piece of news because lots of the exemptions, which expired over the weekend, have been revived. So that is some good news. The exemptions are revived, which means that they're not going to be reviving the 25% tariff on GPUs for another like 3 months. And then there's also some new news that came out from Section 301, as there's going to be more tariff exclusions extended until the end of August on a lot of Chinese products. So that's another good piece of news between the US and China. Also, President Trump is going to be either meeting up with or speaking with Xi Jinping. I believe he's going to be speaking with him very, very soon. And that's some huge news because whatever Xi Jinping ends up, talking about with Trump could be very big for both countries. If they come up with a big deal, that could be huge and that could be affecting our trade and the overall markets. So keep that in mind. China did announce that they're not happy with the way in which the U.S. was changing a lot of the guidances on AI export chips. They weren't really happy about that. So we'll see what happens. They did make that announcement, but hopefully they come up with an agreement. For tomorrow, it's going to be Tuesday, June 3rd. We just have some JOLTS job openings and job quits reports. And we also had some Fed officials talking about how the Fed should cut soon because they don't think that the inflationary pressures are going to be lasting for too long. So we'll see what all of that leads to. So as far as NIO goes, if we get good earnings and with the optimism that's now coming between the US and China, if that helps the market rebound, I hope this could help NIO as well. I hope we do well with earnings and we'll just have to see how it goes for them. What do the margins look like? What are the deliveries expectations? What happens with guidance? And what's going to happen for the end of the year is they have lots of ambitions to expand in Europe and to build more factories, right? That's going to be very big. So we'll see how Onvo and Firefly end up doing. And we'll see if we get a very, very big bounce given what's happening in China. That could be very, very big for us if we do see a lot of buyers coming back. So we'll be watching for that as well. Looking at SPY, we had this like head and shoulders like pattern, but now it's looking like it's trying to invalidate this because we're seeing a lot of buyers defending. And instead, this is now looking like a miniature inverse head and shoulders. If we could hold above 592 tomorrow, we're going to be favoring upside again. But if we end up losing 585, we could turn back down. The chart was trading sideways. We had a head and shoulders, but the head and shoulders just saw a small dip and a big rebound. And we're looking a bit more bullish now. We're actually trying to break out after we got some good news from the Fed, who are now anticipating potential cuts. And then, secondly, we're seeing a lot of exports being the tariff restrictions are basically going to be slowed down essentially. So we're seeing a delay in more tariffs, and that's some good news, which is helping the markets. So SPY could be going for 595 tomorrow as long as we hold above 592.5. And then the QQQ, as long as we're above 523, we're favoring a push for 525 plus. If we lose 520 and 515, we could turn back down pretty hard. But this is still favoring upside right now as we're seeing buyers defending. Even on the IW, when we had a head and shoulders, we dipped a bit only to bounce. So as long as we're above 205, we're favoring 208 plus. If we lose 202, we could be dipping lower. Even on ES, this looks like a cup and handle right over here that's forming. So if we end up losing the support right here at 5,900, we're looking for a dip. As long as we're above that, we're now favoring a retest of 6,000. As long as we hold 5,950, we're looking for more upside. Same thing with NQ. This looks like a cup and handle. If we lose 21,300, we're turning more bearish. We did dip a bit only to bounce. So this could be looking for an attempt to bounce if we could hold support as we're getting some good news from China. We need to see Bitcoin break 106,000 to launch more. If it loses 102,800, we're turning back down. We're in the middle right now. Might see a small push. Tesla dipped quite a bit, but the question is the downside done for Tesla? If it is, this could be looking for a big rebound as we get closer to like the end of June or as we get very close to the Robotaxi event. Nvda trying to rebound as long as we're above 133. We're favoring 140 plus. For Aapl, we also have a double bottom right here. As long as we're above 202, we're now favoring a push back up to 205. If we lose 198, we're turning back down. So we'll just have to see how it goes. So just keep that in mind as time goes on. For Coinbase, we're also looking more bullish. If we end up breaking past 252, we're looking for a push for 258. If we end up losing 242, we're looking for a dip back down. We're still favoring 250 plus. For Amazon, inverse head and shoulders as well. This sort of looks like a cup and handle. Unless we lose 203.5, we're favoring 210 plus. For Meta, same thing, looking very, very bullish right now. This is helping the market to some extent as we got some big news that is coming out. So now we're looking for more upside to start pushing for that 680 area. Big tech needs to hold up. We need to see Google get back above 171. I want to see if Microsoft could hold above 460. Otherwise, we're all favoring upside. So the VIX is dipping right now. We got this rejection. If it keeps rejecting, and if we can't hold 18, we're looking for that gap fill down to 17.3. As of right now, the market's now shifting directions. It's looking a bit more bullish. We'll see how well we hold up tomorrow after we get the JOLTS job openings and job quits, but we're still favoring upside a little bit more with the cup and handle like structure. So for now, the market's looking a bit more bullish. And that's a good sign for the broader markets. We're seeing a big improvement in the U.S. relationship with China, especially if President Trump calls Xi Jinping, which could be good for NIO. Hopefully their earnings go well, and I wish the best for them nonetheless. What's going to be key is guidance, what they tell us about the future, so watch for that. Anyways, thank you for listening, guys. Have a good one, and peace out.